Welcome back to Defining Moments. I'm Suzanne Quast. And guys, this episode is deeply personal for me. You know, I lost my mother to addiction, my brother's in recovery, and I have spent a lifetime trying to save people, unsuccessfully. And so today we are going to dive into the world of addiction. And my guest is Andrea Arlington. Andrea is a former model. She and her daughters were also on the reality show Pretty Wild on E! And she has had a lot of experience dealing with people with substance abuse disorders. Andrea is now a life coach, and she's the founder of Families United for Recovery. And today we're going to talk about her recovery program and her story and hear about the technique that has a 70% success rate. Guys, it's unheard of, and I'm so excited to talk about this. Here are her moments. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Suzanne.
So I have to tell, I think I mentioned this to you on the phone, but the way I found you was I was actually listening to your daughter, Alexis Haynes, who was Alexis Nyers prior. Yeah. And she has the podcast, Recovering from Reality. And you guys did an episode together. And it was such a beautiful, honest, raw conversation. And it made me honestly, wish that I could have that kind of conversation with my mom now. It's a little different. My mother was the addict, and your daughter, was the one with the substance abuse disorder. Yeah. So it was there's a little bit of a difference in the dynamic of that.
Sure.
But you guys have obviously done a lot of work to get to this point.
Yes, and we continue.
Right, it never ends.
It's a lifelong journey for sure.
So for people who aren't familiar, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this place in your journey?
Yeah. So I had a brother who also passed away from IV drug use. And I grew up in a family where we didn't have a sense of connection with each other. I mean, my dad was a great guy. My mom was a great lady, but they didn't have this kind of connecting skills that children really long for. We all long for a sense of belonging, right?
100%.
Right. So I think they were just coming out of a period of time in our history where money was tight in their life and their whole focus was on education and performance. And it was, be perfect,
Yeah.
So that message translated as you're not good enough, you don't belong, you have to live up to our expectations or you are ostracized, et cetera, right? So these seemingly good intentions turned into a feeling inside of me and my brother as well of I don't belong and I'm not accepted unless I'm performing to get your approval. And that sets you up for a sense of disconnection. And we're wired for connection, right? I mean, we have to feel like we belong and that there's a sense of wholeness and well-being when we're with our family members, or we're going to look for a strategy that's going to create a sense of well-being inside of us that is not with our family members. And it could be through getting involved in unhealthy relationships or using strategies like substances or other unhealthy behaviors to get our emotional needs met. And so I started using when I was 12, and by the time I was 14, I was doing coke like a couple times a week, and that continued until after my brother passed when I was 21, and then I cut back to just marijuana, mushrooms, and red wine. And
that the cocktail.
I know, right? Well, up until then, I was using coke every day because I was a model and I survived on coke and Marlboro Lights and coffee, exactly, for 10 years.
Yeah. Diet of champions.
Seriously. And so when my brother died, I moved out to LA and met a man, got married. He was very successful, but he suffered from substance use disorder. And of course, I didn't really know what substance use disorder was. It was like when I decided to quit using coke, I just did,
Yeah.
For some reason, I was okay just letting it go. And I let go of everything else too when I knew that I wanted to have children. And so, but I didn't realize that, when you stop when you start using substances, you stop maturing emotionally as well. So
Yep.
I was 12 years old having
wow.
children, right? So I mean, that was a setup for disaster.
Right?
Seriously, how can you expect to have a healthy family when you're operating from a self-awareness of a 12-year-old? And I really was, because I had used ever since, until I was 27. And
Do you think it's hereditary? You have a daughter, you have daughters that, one of your adopted daughters and one of your daughter, and she struggled, and my mother did, and my brother did. So I wonder, me thinking about having kids, is this hereditary?
Well, I mean, they say that it can be, but a lot of times it won't be triggered unless there's trauma. If there's a sense of belonging, and I feel really good inside when I'm with you growing up, that the likelihood of that being triggered is really reduced significantly.
Okay.
And so having a healthy set of parental strategies, and there's so many great parental strategies out on, that we can look to today for keeping this sense of connection and belonging with our children that was never emphasized. It was like, as long as you got good grades and I provide you with a roof over your head and food on the table, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, you're on your own,
Yeah.
But that's not really effective. When we look back at history in different cultures, if you didn't have connection with your family members and with your community, you were going to die. You couldn't survive on your own. And we're wired for connection. And really the best thing we can do for our families is create a community through maybe spiritual centers that you can all belong to, or an extended family of friends who are healthy-minded people, and create connection so that they feel like they've got these amazing relationships that they can depend on and that they belong in.
So I want to get to, what your methodology is. But before we do, I look at, I want to get into some specifics, because I think of my father and my stepmom and what a difficult time they had, in dealing with my brother who faced, it was either get clean or it was jail time.
Right.
So I know for you faced that with your daughters. Your daughter was a part of a really, the bling ring, burglaries. And then she said, I heard her on a podcast say that she then did jail time, 38 days. She then violated her probation, and then she faced either 6 years, and then the judge granted her a year, which actually got her clean. So how is that as a parent? When your child is facing jail time, was there also a part of you that felt like, at least when she was there, she was safe?
No.
Sorry, there's a lot of questions in there.
She wasn't safe at all. I mean, she had a kidney infection. Nobody was treating that. It was a horrific experience. I was powerless to do anything. Not that I was really capable of doing much anyway, because I was not a healthy mom. I really wasn't. I was, like I said, I had the mentality of a 12-year-old. It wasn't until we had been hit over the head, all of us, like with 6x6s, and that was a result of her addiction and the jail time, and then facing the 6 years in prison. That's when we all had this huge wake-up call. Not that we hadn't had a lot of wake-up calls before that.
But that's the problem. That's not the problem. That's the thing when you're dealing with somebody with substance abuse disorders. There's a lot of things that come up that you think, maybe this is our opportunity, and it's not. Or
you know what? I think that for me and for my parents too, it was like, this is just stupid behavior and rebelliousness and dumb choices. I'm just going to shame the shit out of them until they stop behaving this way so that they make me happy again. Again, it's that performance thing and people pleasing. If you'll just do it my way, we'll be fine. But there's something that's going on that's much deeper and that's required to be addressed in order to create a desire and an inspiration in our loved ones to choose to be in recovery. And that requires a lot, But getting back to your question in regards to, did I think she was safe in jail? No, I didn't think she was safe in jail. And I was scared to death of what was going to happen when she came out of jail. There was a part of me that was in denial. It was like, okay, She's in jail. She's going to get out. She's going to be fine. She's going to go to school. She's going to pay me the $50,000 she stole from me, and we're going to be good. It was so unrealistic until we get educated. So in terms of what, the family is dealing with, the old model of family recovery is really needing to be addressed, because the old family of form of recovery is let them hit bottom, detach, and let them figure it out. Well, if we go back to the theory that you stop maturing at the age you start using, you could have a 30-year-old child who is a 14-year-old in terms of their mental ability to navigate through a dis-ease, if you will. Like, would you expect your loved one to navigate cancer or diabetes at the age of 12 or 14? No. Mm-hmm. And would you want them to do it on their own? No. So why is it that we're still advocating for letting them hit bottom, which, by the way, is a death sentence for a lot of our kids?
100%.
I mean, 200 a day we're losing, okay? So we can't afford to, because one needle, let them hit bottom. That could be tomorrow. That could be this afternoon. We don't have time to let them hit bottom if we want to save their life. And
so then what does that mean? So if you don't let them hit rock bottom, then what do you do? Because so many parents and so many people are like, I don't know how to help. Exactly. And that's the advice they hear.
Oh, I know. So what happens is that creates, when we are detaching, detaching, letting them hit bottom, letting them figure it out, we're triggering the mirror neuron in them because we're like pushing them away, right? And so they're getting this message: I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of your love and affection. And by the way, you're not good enough, and you're not worthy of my love and affection either. So we're looking at each other as if each other are the problem, whereas what needs to be looked at is that the substance use disorder and the underlying emotional needs that are not being met, or physical needs that are not being met, is the problem. And so we want to create a collaborative sense of togetherness, of connection, and like we're sitting side by side and looking out at the playing field saying, what are you seeing? Because here's what I'm seeing, and here's what I'm feeling, and what do we need to do? Who do we need to go to find a better strategy for both of us? So I'm not yelling and screaming and shaming and blaming, which triggers my loved one's desire for their strategy, which is to stick a needle in their arm or have a bottle of vodka. Mm-hmm. And instead, like, what can we do to find better strategies in each of us so that I'm not a raging, crazy, shaming, get the F out of my life kind of, because we get to that point, right?
100%. How can you not? Yeah.
When you're dealing with the insanity of, of the fallout of this, but they're dealing with the sense of, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And we think that that should be enough to get them to go, okay, I'm going to get real. I'm going to get my life together because I don't feel good inside. But no, their brain has been hijacked by that point, and their body has been hijacked in a lot of cases as well, because the pain of a detox it's like having the worst flu symptoms forever. It's just, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody go through a detox, but it's
crazy. It's also like they're having an exorcist, but that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're, what you're saying is to sit down with the addict, to have empathy for them or with them, and then to say, let's go to somebody like you, or
I love where you're going.
Because I need like actual tactical
I'm
things.
I'm going to give it to you right now.
Great.
Okay, so a lot of times when parents hire me, they haven't talked to their kid for a while because the last interaction they had was so toxic. The kids can't even fathom the possibility that they're going to have to be shamed, and that trigger inside of them is going to go through so much pain again, right? Every time we shame somebody else, it triggers the same area of the brain that trauma does.
Okay.
And when we're traumatized, we go right into that fight-flight mechanism, and we want out, right? Mm-hmm. So this kid is like, I'm out. I'm not going to come back. The only way we can create the fast track for connection is for the parents to make a list of every single thing that they have said, done, or anything that they can find. Be relentless within themselves. That might be a sense of like where the kid's like, and you did this, and you did that, and you said this, and you said that. you sit down yourself as a parent, because if you want to save your kid's life, you've got to create almost a forced empathy from them onto you. And what you're going to do is you're going to make this list and you're going to choose 2 or 3 of the most profoundly painful things that your kid, whether reasonably or unreasonably, feels that you did. It doesn't matter, because you're trying to save their life. So get your ego out of the way and make this list. And then we're going to sit down and we're going to create a little script. Because people need scripts so that they don't revert back to the shaming.
Because as soon as they get emotional too, then they like lose all sense of control, and their ego, their emotions, their sadness, their anger all gets involved. Okay.
Exactly. So we're going to make this list, and then we're going to make an appointment. Because if you don't make an appointment, you're going to catch them off guard, and they're going to be ready for another shame storm from you. So you're going to make an appointment. You're going to say, I realize that I've been looking at this thing all wrong. And I need to apologize. I am so terribly upset right now. I finally realize that I've had a huge part in your desire to self-medicate. And I didn't understand this until just now. But I owe you an apology, and I want to talk to you as soon as I can. Please, when can we get together? When can we make this happen? For a call, for a conversation, or we can do this through a text, right? So then we wait for them to say, well, now is good. And believe me, most of the time, my parents have their kids on the phone within 24 hours. And kids could have been on the street for 5, 6, 7 months already and no contact. And so, and then as soon as the kid is in contact with the parent parent is all about, when I said that you're an addict and you better get your what together, and I don't want to see you again until you've got your life together and you're sober. I am so sorry. Because I know that I'm trying to take away the only thing that you've got in your life right now that makes you feel safe, that relieves this sense of you not belonging in our family, even because of who I've been in the last 6 years of your life. Because every time I've seen you, it's been about me trying to force my will on you for you to get sober so that I can sleep at night. And so that my family members, I don't have to make excuses for you anymore, because that's where I've been living from, instead of trying to save your life. Because I tell you what, Shannon, Suzanne, sorry, if your child had cancer or diabetes, you wouldn't be waiting for them to hit bottom. You wouldn't be waiting for them to figure it out on their own. You would be in there trying to educate yourself, and you wouldn't shame them for having symptoms of their condition. So you'd be sitting there, and so you make an apology to them, and as soon as you do that, it actually forces that they're like, stop. Okay, I get it. Okay, so what do we do now? So immediately there's this sense of, oh my God,
they hear me, they see me,
they're not hating me. I feeling a sense of belonging in their heart, and well-being in this conversation for the first time in how long? And then it's like, can I buy you a hamburger? Where are you right now? Can I get you a bus ticket? Can we meet for something? And that's what we did with my second daughter, because she had been in treatment 5 times, and I had hired a Navy SEAL team to go into downtown LA and extract her from Tent City. That was my method that I was going to.
But I think that's a lot of parents what they would do. But that didn't work.
Well, Bob Forrest from Celebrity Rehab, intervention said, you can't do that. That's never going to work. Are you out of your mind? You've been doing this for 5 years. She's never going to get sober for you when you're forcing your will on her. You've got to come in from underneath, and you've got to create a sense of connection and collaboration with her. And the way you do that is by starting to make apologies, to go in with the worst, the darkest things you've ever said or done, and to say, I am so sorry. And that's exactly what it took for us to help her make the decision to get well. And she's been sober off of heroin for almost 7 years now.
And that's what did it. And then the other thing, because we only have, I can't believe this, a minute left, but I want to talk about the leverage thing, because you said leverage is really important. Leverage in communication. Connection.
Yeah.
Connection. So what is the leverage?
Yeah. Leverage is all about anything your kid wants from you. If they ask you to pay their cell phone bill, I'd be happy to pay your cell phone bill. The only thing is that I know you're using it to connect with your dealer. And until you're working on your recovery, I'm not comfortable helping you connect with your dealer because that would be negligent of me as a parent. So, and I'm not saying that that's the case in every situation, because sometimes you want your kid to have that cell phone. So you might be maybe using it for a different kind of leverage. As long as you and I meet for coffee once a week, I'll pay your cell phone bill. And that creates an opportunity for me to go in again with my new tools, by the way, that are all evidence-based tools, and they work. I mean, this is solid stuff. And so you could use leverage with a car payment. I'd be happy to help you pay for your car payment, but you're using your car to go get your drugs right now. And until you're working on your recovery, I can't do that for you. But let me know when you're ready.
So I want to end on this. Is that enabling or is that supporting? Because that's the thing that I know my dad and stepmom struggle with. You know, if he gets out of jail, detox, rehab, whatever, you know, he needs a ride to go to his job, to his, you know.
Anything that they're doing to move toward recovery, you support in every way you can. Enabling is only when you're contributing to them their ability to continue using.
Okay.
That's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But I think that can get blurred, you know.
That's why you need a coach.
That's why you need a okay. So that's why you need to hire you. We have to come back because I feel like we didn't even there's so much more to say.
Right.
So if this is like, if you know somebody out there who's dealing with substance abuse disorder, we don't say addicts, which we didn't get to, but which I had to learn not to say addict.
Right.
Please pass this on to them. Also tell them where they can find you.
Yes.
And I guess the mission statement of your company.
Okay. The mission of my company is to help family members become their loved ones' best chance for choosing recovery using compassionate responses and evidence-based tools. The name of my company, and you can find me online at Families United for Recovery, and my phone number is 424-203. Is that crazy? 203-4569.
I love that you gave your phone number out. Wow, that is somebody. No, that's dedication. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. I really appreciate it.
And thanks, guys. Bye. Wow, I really feel like we didn't use,
Amazing. It did. It flew by.
That was like 3 seconds.
It really did. It feels
like I literally have so many questions that I have all of your questions incorporated in here that I just didn't.
Wow.